The galaxy was full of powerful empires, proud races, and endless wars. But in every corner, in every bar, in every old book, there was one name whispered with fear: humans. Some said humans were only a myth. Some said they died long ago. Others swore they had seen their black warships tearing through fleets like fire through dry grass. No one could prove it, yet no one could truly deny it. The story of humans was like smoke, thin, mysterious, but impossible to catch. On a lonely desert world, under two blazing suns, a group of young alien soldiers sat around a fire. They were tired from training but full of pride. They wanted glory, medals, and to fight for their empire. Laughter filled the night air until their commander, an old veteran with deep scars across his face, raised his hand for silence. "You laugh now," he said, his voice heavy like stone. "But there are things in this galaxy you do not understand." The recruits looked at him, curious but still smiling. One of them leaned forward. "What things, Commander?" The old man's eyes narrowed. "Have you heard the legend of the humans?" The laughter returned instantly. One recruit slapped his knee. "Humans? The shadows from bedtime stories? That's for children." But the commander did not laugh. His face was hard, his eyes burning like the coals of the fire. "I have seen their work," he said. "I walked on a battlefield where the ground itself was melted into glass. Ships, entire fleets gone, wiped out by one Terran warship. The fire popped, sending sparks into the air. The recruits went quiet. The commander's words felt too sharp, too heavy. "Sir," one of them whispered, "if they are real, why don't we see them anymore?" The commander looked at the sky. The twin moons hung silently above. His voice dropped lower. "Because legends wait. They wait until you laugh at them. They wait until you call them fairy tales. And then, when the galaxy has grown soft and proud, they return." A cold breeze passed over the camp. The young soldiers pulled their cloaks tighter, though the desert night was not yet cold. None of them spoke. Far away, at the edge of known space, a mining station floated above a dead planet. It was an ordinary night shift until the sensors picked up something unusual. A signal. It was faint, broken, like a ghost's whisper. The technician frowned. "Strange. This isn't one of ours." He pressed a few buttons, trying to clear the static. And then the system displayed words that froze the blood in his veins. "Origin Terran." The other miners crowded around, confused. "Terran? That's impossible. Just a glitch." But the signal grew stronger. Through the crackle of static, a voice emerged. Not alien, not robotic, but something else. Deep, cold, and powerful. "We are coming." The room fell silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The technician's hands shook as he turned off the recorder. "It's a trick," he whispered. "It has to be." But deep inside, he knew it was not a trick. It was a warning. Soon, rumors spread. Traders passing through the outer systems spoke in hushed tones about the return of humans. Smugglers refused to travel certain routes. Entire colonies began locking their gates at night, as if shadows in the sky might descend on them. Back on the desert planet, the commander stood alone after the recruits had gone to sleep. He stared at the horizon where the last light of the suns disappeared. His face was grim, his scars deep. He had not told them everything. He had not told them of the day, long ago, when he saw a human warship with his own eyes. He had not told them how it moved like a predator, silent and certain, before it vanished into the dark. One of the young soldiers returned quietly, unable to sleep. "Commander," he asked softly, "do you really believe they will return?" The old man's jaw tightened. His voice was almost a whisper. "Believe? No, I know." The soldier swallowed hard. "But when?" The commander's gaze lifted to the endless stars above. His answer was so soft the soldier almost missed it. "They are already here." The soldier's blood turned cold. He looked at the commander, but the man's eyes were fixed on the sky, unblinking. High above, hidden from the eyes of any watcher, a vast shadow moved across the stars. This hull was darker than space itself. No signal marked its presence. No light betrayed its path. It was silent. It was patient. It was human. The edges of the galaxy were always quiet. Cold stars shone over forgotten stations, old mining colonies, and drifting wrecks. Life was slow here, far away from the crowded centers of the great empires. But silence can sometimes hide danger. And in that silence, something new, something old was moving. On the outpost of Kellner Station, a lonely officer leaned back in his chair, bored of staring at empty radar screens. Nights here all looked the same. The same blinking lights, the same silence, the same slow hours. But tonight, the screen flickered. A strange blip appeared in the void. The officer frowned. He adjusted the sensors. The blip was gone. He sighed in relief, just a glitch. But as he turned away, the blip returned, brighter this time, pulsing like a heartbeat. Unregistered contact. The system whispered across the console. The officer's skin went cold. He tapped the comms. Control. I'm seeing something strange. A massive energy signature, but I can't lock its shape. It's too large. Static answered him. No reply came from control. Alarms began to beep softly. The system tried to calculate the size of the unknown contact. The numbers flickered and grew higher and higher still. The officer leaned closer, his mouth dry. Impossible. No ship is that big. Then, just as suddenly, the contact disappeared. Gone as if it had never been there. But the officer could still feel it. Something was out there, watching. Meanwhile, across the sector, trade ships carried stories like wildfire. A convoy traveling near the dead moons of the Los reported seeing a shadow slip across the stars. Their scanners showed nothing, but every crew member swore the same thing. Something vast moved between them and the suns. The convoy never reached its destination. Their last message was broken static and then silence. In the council chambers of the Karth Dominion, leaders argued over the spreading rumors. Children's tales, one minister scoffed, slamming his hand on the table. There are no humans. There never were. Only myths invented by frightened explorers. But the military commander shook his head. He had been receiving strange reports for weeks now. Colonies cut off mid-communication. Patrol fleets lost without a trace. And most disturbing of all, an intercepted broadcast from the void. He played it for the council. The chamber filled with a voice, deep and cold, echoing across the speakers. We are coming. The words felt heavy, as if the air itself carried fear. Some counselors laughed nervously, calling it a fake. But others shifted uneasily in their seats. Legends had a way of clinging to the mind. The commander leaned forward. If this is truly the Terrans, then no wall, no fleet, no planet is safe. You know what the old stories say. Stories! The minister barked again, but his voice shook slightly. We are stronger now. We have weapons the old world could not dream of. Even if these ghosts were real, they would not stand against us. But no one clapped in support. No one shouted in agreement. Silence held the room, and silence was more frightening than words. On another night, in a small border colony, a child pointed at the sky. Look, mother, a dark star is moving. The mother laughed softly, ready to dismiss it as a child's fantasy. But when she looked up, her smile died. For a moment, just a heartbeat. Something vast and black crossed the sky. No engines flared. No lights blinked. It was not a ship like any she had seen. It was more like a piece of space itself had decided to move. The next day, the colony was gone. Not destroyed. Not burned. Simply gone, like dust blown away. Back on the desert world where the old commander had spoken of humans, whispers reached even the young recruits. At first, they mocked the stories. But with every passing day, new rumors arrived. Fleets vanishing, stations falling silent, shadows moving in the stars. One night, the youngest recruit sat awake, unable to sleep. He remembered his commander's words. They are already here. The thought pressed into his chest like a weight. He left his tent and looked at the sky. The stars glittered, beautiful and calm. But as he stared, he felt something strange. A sense that the stars were not alone. Something hidden, silent, powerful was out there, watching them all. Far beyond, where no empire dared to go, a fleet of Terran warships floated in formation. Their hulls were blacker than the void, swallowing the light of nearby stars. They made no sound, no broadcast, only silence. Inside one of those warships, a human captain stood on the bridge, his face hidden in shadows. He watched the holographic maps of alien colonies and fleets. Slowly, he raised his hand. "Soon," he said. His voice was calm, but behind it was an ancient fire. "Soon, they will remember us." The warship engines glowed faintly for the first time in centuries. The silence of the void trembled. The legends were no longer whispers. They were moving. Fear spreads faster than fire. Once it begins, it slips into every corner, touches every mind, and refuses to leave. And now, fear of the humans was spreading across the galaxy. It started with whispers. Convoy missing here. Patrol fleet not returning there. A colony gone silent. Leaders told their people it was nothing, pirates, accidents, technical failures. But ordinary citizens could feel the truth. They had seen the sky. They had felt the shadows moving across the stars. In the vast capital of the Jorian Alliance, markets were full of rumors. Merchants refused to send ships to the border. Families spoke in low voices at night. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. Are the humans real? Will they come here? The parents lied to calm them, but their own eyes were heavy with worry. In the military halls of the Alliance, the High Council gathered. Generals stood in polished armor, scientists displayed charts, and advisors tried to calm the panic. One general slammed his fist on the table. Enough of this fear. We are the strongest military in the quadrant. Even if these Terrans exist, they cannot face us. Our fleets are numbered in the thousands. But an older strategist shook his head slowly. His voice was soft, but it carried across the room. Do you not see? Numbers do not matter. Whole fleets are gone without firing a single shot. We are not facing pirates. We are not facing rebels. We are facing something else. Something patient, something ancient. The room grew silent. One of the counselors leaned forward nervously. Do we have proof? Actual proof of humans? The strategist pulled up a hollow recording. A blurred image of a warship appeared. It was massive, darker than the void around it, its shape strange and unfamiliar. This was captured before Colony S-17 went silent, the strategist explained. It lasted only seconds, but look at the scale. The warship is larger than anything we have ever built. The room stared at the image. For the first time, the generals did not laugh. While leaders debated, ordinary soldiers on the front lines began to feel the shadow creeping into their hearts. Patrols reported seeing flickers of movement in the sky, shapes too big, too silent, too fast. Ships went missing without distress calls. A young pilot wrote in his log before disappearing, "The stars do not look the same anymore. Something is moving between them, watching us, waiting." His ship never returned. On a distant mining world, the people gathered in a small bar. Old miners whispered over their drinks. My grandfather once told me, one said, that he saw a Terran ship. He said its hull was black like a hole, and its weapons cut through battleships like knives through fruit. Another miner shook his head. Grandfather tales. You want to believe in ghosts? Fine. But me, I say if they come, we are finished. No one fights legends. A third miner looked out the window. His voice was a whisper. They are not legends. They are hunters. And we are prey. No one argued with him. Back on the desert world, the old commander sat with his recruits again. The fear had already reached them. Their laughter was gone. Their questions were sharper now, their eyes more restless. Commander, one of them asked, what do humans want? Why would they return now? The old man was silent for a long time. Then he said, they want what they always wanted, survival. And when humans fight for survival, nothing in this galaxy can stop them. The recruits shivered, though the desert air was warm. Far away, in the cold void, the truth was already unfolding. A human warship hovered near the wreck of an alien fleet. Fires burned across twisted metal. Escape pods floated, their lights blinking weakly. The warship did not move to destroy them, simply waited, silent and massive, watching. Inside the wreckage, a wounded alien soldier recorded his last message. His voice shook with terror. "They are real. The legends are real. If you find this, run. Run before they find you." The message was never delivered. The warship absorbed the signal before it could escape. The soldier's final scream was lost in the silence of space. Everywhere, shadows of fear grew larger. Leaders argued, soldiers doubted, citizens prayed. But across the galaxy, one truth was rising like a storm. Humans were no longer myths. They were shadows moving in the stars. And soon they would step out of the darkness. The galaxy had lived in fear of whispers, but whispers were about to turn into screams. For months, fleets had gone missing and colonies had vanished. But now, for the first time, the galaxy would see the truth with its own eyes. On the border of the Valen Empire, 200 warships prepared for patrol. Their commanders were proud and confident. The Empire had never been defeated. Their ships were fast, armed with powerful plasma cannons, and commanded by the best tacticians they had. On the bridge of the lead battleship, Admiral Kor stood tall. His voice was sharp as he addressed his fleet. "We will find these ghosts and burn them out of our skies. No myth can stand against the might of the Valen." His officers cheered. The soldiers aboard the ships laughed nervously, trying to drown their fear with pride. The fleet set course toward the silent sector where colonies had gone dark. The first hours were quiet. The stars stretched endlessly around them. Scanners showed nothing. Many soldiers began to believe the rumors were just that. Rumors. But then the silence broke. "Contact detected," shouted the sensor officer. "Unregistered vessel ahead." "No. Wait. Size unknown. It's..." His voice stopped. His screen froze, numbers flickering wildly. Admiral Kor walked over. His eyes narrowed. "How large?" The officer's lips trembled. "Larger than anything we have ever seen, Admiral. 10 times the size of our battleships. Maybe more." A cold silence filled the bridge. And then, through the dark of space, a shadow appeared. At first it looked like a moving star. But as it drew closer, its true shape emerged. A massive ship, blacker than night itself. The surface seemed to swallow light. No symbols, no markings, no colors. Only darkness. The crew stared, frozen. One whispered, "It's them. Humans." Admiral Kor clenched his jaw. He forced his voice to stay firm. "It doesn't matter what they are. All ships prepare weapons. Target the intruder." Across the fleet, weapons charged. Plasma cannons glowed. Torpedo bays opened. The order was given. "Fire!" The void lit up as 200 ships released a storm of energy. Beams of plasma, guided missiles, and explosive torpedoes rained toward the black warship. The sky itself seemed to burn. But when the light faded, the warship still stood. Not a scratch marked its surface. Gasps echoed through the bridge. "That's impossible," someone cried. Before Admiral Kor could reply, the human warship moved. It did not fire dozens of weapons. It did not send a swarm of fighters. It only unleashed a single beam of white light. One. That single strike cut through an entire squadron of ships, slicing them apart as if they were paper. Explosions filled the void. Soldiers screamed across the comms. "Retreat! Retreat!" Voices cried. But there was no retreat. The warship fired again. Another thin beam of light. Dozens more ships vanished into fire. The Valen fleet, once proud, now broke apart in chaos. Ships collided as they tried to flee. Distress calls filled every channel. Admiral Kor's eyes widened as he realized the truth. This was no myth. This was power beyond imagination. He turned to his officers. "Send a message to command. Tell them the humans have returned." But before the message could be sent, the warship fired once more. The admiral's ship split into flames, his words lost forever in the silence of space. Minutes later, only wreckage remained. 200 ships, gone. Only twisted metal floated in the void. The human warship drifted silently through the debris. It did not celebrate. It did not chase survivors. It simply glided forward, calm and merciless, like a predator certain of its place at the top. From the burning remains, a single escape pod tumbled into the darkness. Inside, a wounded Valen pilot gasped for breath. He opened his recorder with shaking hands. "They are real," he whispered. "The legends are real. If anyone hears this, we cannot fight them. We cannot win." His voice broke. Tears filled his eyes. "Gods help us all." Moments later, the warship passed near the pod. The shadow swallowed the light. The pod systems died instantly, as if the warship itself had drained it. The pilot never spoke again. News of the destruction spread faster than light. Survivors who had seen the battle with their own eyes fled to nearby systems. They carried fear in their voices, terror in their eyes. They destroyed 200 ships with only one. Governments tried to silence the news, but it was too late. The galaxy now knew the truth. Humans were not just whispers. They were not just shadows. They were hunters, and their warships were monsters of the void. And this was only the first encounter. The wreckage of the Valen fleet still floated in the cold void. Broken hulls spun slowly, fires flickered weakly, and lifeless bodies drifted among shattered metal. 200 ships had entered battle. None had returned. The galaxy was silent, but silence never lasts. From the ruins came a signal, faint, broken, and desperate. A last recording from an escape pod that had not yet been destroyed. A voice trembled through the static. "They destroyed us all, one ship, only one. The legends, they are true. The humans." The message ended with a scream. The pod signal was eventually caught by a passing merchant vessel. The crew listened in horror. They had heard rumors for weeks, but now they had proof. Their faces grew pale. None of them wanted to carry such a cursed message, but they knew the galaxy had to hear it. When the recording reached the councils of power, fear filled their halls like smoke. In the grand chamber of the Valen capital, leaders gathered. The emperor sat upon his golden throne, but even he could not hide the dread in his eyes. The recording was played again. The broken voice of the dying pilot echoed across the chamber. "They are real." The silence that followed was worse than the words themselves. Finally, one counselor spoke, his voice shaking. "This is nothing but a trick. Perhaps rebels or pirates trying to frighten us." But another slammed his fist on the table. "Fools! You saw the wreckage. 200 ships gone in minutes. Do you think pirates can do that?" The council erupted in shouting. Some demanded war. Others begged for diplomacy. A few whispered of surrender. The galaxy had many strong races, but none had ever faced a legend come alive. Meanwhile, in the outer colonies, panic spread. Families packed their homes and tried to flee deeper into safer space. Traders refused to travel the frontier routes. Soldiers whispered in their barracks, their pride shaken. Children asked their parents, "Mother, is it true? Are the humans back?" The parents lied, forcing a smile. "No, my child, just old stories." But the fear in their eyes betrayed the truth. On the desert world, the old commander sat by the fire once again with his recruits. The whispers had reached them too. The young soldiers were restless, unable to hide their unease. One of them finally asked, "Commander, what do humans want? Why are they here?" The old man's eyes darkened. "What they have always wanted. Survival. And when humans fight for survival, nothing survives against them." The recruits shifted uncomfortably. None dared laugh at the commander now. The night felt colder than ever before. But the most terrifying proof came days later. A shattered comms buoy drifted into the territory of the Karth Dominion. Engineers salvaged it, expecting only broken data. Instead, inside its memory core, they found something chilling. A deliberate message left behind. It was not from the Valens. It was from the humans. The council gathered nervously as the file was played. First, only static. Then a voice, deep and clear, filled the chamber. A human voice. "We warned you. Humanity remembers." Gasps filled the room. The words were not shouted. They were not angry. They were calm, cold, certain. The message continued. "Stay out of our way, or be erased." And then it ended. The chamber was silent for a long time. Even the air seemed heavy. Across the galaxy, fear turned into chaos. Civilizations that had once fought each other now turned their eyes toward the stars, praying they would not see a shadow moving there. Fleets were recalled to defend homeworlds. Entire planets prepared evacuation drills. The legend of humans was no longer a myth told to children. It was a nightmare returning to life. Yet some leaders still clung to arrogance. "They are only one race," a proud emperor declared to his people. "We are billions. We will crush them if they dare enter our space." But his speech could not erase the truth. His own soldiers whispered behind his back. His own citizens locked their doors at night, watching the skies, because the message of the dead could not be ignored. Far in the void, aboard the Terran dreadnought, the human captain stood before a vast screen. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Panic, fear, disorder. His expression was calm. "They are beginning to understand," he said quietly. Another officer nodded. "Shall we send another warning?" The captain's lips curved into a faint, cold smile. "No. The dead speak louder than we ever could. Let their fear do the work." The dreadnought drifted forward, silent and unstoppable, and behind it more shadows moved. The humans were not alone. The galaxy thought the humans would remain in the shadows, striking only at distant fleets and forgotten colonies. Leaders believed they still had time. Time to argue, time to plan, time to deny. But humans were not waiting. They were already moving. It began quietly. In the skies above small colonies, families looked up and froze. Dark shapes drifted across the stars, shapes larger than cities, blocking out the light. No sound, no warning. Just warships, black and silent, watching. Within hours, they appeared over larger worlds. Merchant hubs, military bases, and finally capitals. In the shining heart of the Valen Empire, citizens filled the streets for their morning routines. Children ran to schools, traders shouted prices in the markets, and ships flew in neat lines above the towers. Life felt safe, ordinary. Then the shadows fell. The first ship appeared above the capital, its size so great it covered the sky. It hung there, silent, like a mountain floating in the heavens. People stopped in the streets, mouths open, eyes wide. More came. 1, 2, 5, until the entire sky was full of them. A little girl pointed upward. "Mother, are those stars falling?" Her mother pulled her close, her heart racing. "No, child, those are not stars." Panic erupted. Alarms rang across the city. Fleets scrambled to launch, but the human warships did not fire. They only hovered, waiting, their presence more terrifying than any weapon. Inside the imperial palace, the emperor shouted orders. "Shoot them down. Do not let them threaten our skies." But his generals stood frozen. "Your Majesty, we fired once before. You know what happened." The emperor's face twisted with rage, but deep down, fear gripped him too. Across the galaxy, other capitals suffered the same fate. The Karth Dominion, the Jorian Alliance, even neutral planets. All woke to see Terran dreadnoughts filling their skies. No communication, no demands, just silence. The people whispered among themselves. Why don't they attack? What are they waiting for? What do they want? No one had answers. Finally, in one capital, a message came. On every screen, every tower, every comms channel, the same words appeared in simple, cold text. "Stay out of our way." Nothing more. The message repeated across every world under human shadow. The words were not shouted, not decorated with threats. They were calm, certain, final. And that calmness was worse than fire. In the Jorian Alliance, a young soldier stood on the walls of a defense tower, staring at the massive black ship hovering above. He had fought pirates before, rebels too, but never had he felt so powerless. His hands trembled over his weapon controls. "What are we supposed to do against that?" he whispered. His captain shook his head slowly. "Nothing. You cannot fight the night." Meanwhile, in a hidden war council, leaders of several empires gathered in secret. Their faces were pale, their voices broken. "We cannot bow to them," one said. "We must resist." "Resist?" another shouted bitterly. "Did you not see what happened to the Valen fleet? 200 ships gone. Tell me, how do we resist that?" Silence followed. Everyone knew the truth. One leader finally whispered what all of them feared to say aloud. Perhaps surrender is the only way. But no one wanted to be the first to bend their knee. Pride still burned, even in the face of doom. On the desert world, the old commander and his recruits watched the sky. Far above, even their small planet was not spared. The shadow of a Terran warship stretched across their sands. The recruits were pale, silent. One of them whispered, "Commander, are we already conquered?" The old man's eyes never left the ship above. His voice was heavy, certain. "No, we are not conquered. Not yet. This is only a warning." The recruit frowned. "A warning? For what?" The commander did not answer. He did not need to. The meaning was clear. The humans had returned not to negotiate, not to conquer with words, but to show their power. Their silence said everything. Resist, and you will vanish. Inside the largest Terran dreadnought, the captain stood with his officers. Holograms of dozens of alien capitals floated before them, each with human ships hovering above. An officer asked, "Shall we strike?" The captain shook his head. His eyes were cold, his voice calm. "Not yet. Fear is sharper than fire. Let them see us. Let them feel small. Let them remember who we are." The officer nodded. "And when they forget again?" The captain's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then we remind them with fire." The warships remained above the capitals for days, never firing, never leaving. Their presence alone was enough. People hid in their homes, leaders whispered in fear, and the galaxy's balance of power shattered without a single shot. For now, the humans had spoken without speaking. But everyone knew the silence would not last forever. For weeks, the Terran warships had floated above alien capitals like silent mountains in the sky. They did not fire, they did not speak. Their presence alone was enough to turn whole civilizations into trembling shadows of themselves. But legends do not remain still forever. Legends return to remind the living why they were feared. And now the humans were ready to move. In the Jorian Alliance capital, citizens woke to the sound of sirens. Across the skies, defense ships scrambled. A massive alien alliance fleet had arrived. Hundreds of ships from different empires, united in desperation. They had decided to resist. The leaders had argued for weeks, but at last, pride had won. "We will not kneel to ghosts," they declared. "We will show the galaxy that humans are nothing but stories." The great fleet stretched across the heavens, weapons primed, engines burning bright. Millions watched from the ground as the sky lit up with power. For the first time, hope flickered in alien hearts. Perhaps the humans could be defeated. Then the silence broke. The lead alien commander's voice thundered through the comms. "Terrans, leave our skies or face our fire." The human dreadnought remained still, silent, blacker than the void. No answer came. "Fire!" the alien commander roared. The heavens exploded. Hundreds of beams of plasma and waves of missiles crashed against the Terran warships. The sky turned white with fire. Towers shook on the planet below. Citizens cried out, covering their ears and eyes. For a brief moment, it looked as if the galaxy itself had turned against the humans. But when the smoke cleared, the Terran ships still stood. Unmoved, untouched. Not a single scar marked their hulls. Panic rippled through the alien fleet. "That's impossible. Our weapons did nothing." And then the humans answered. A single Terran dreadnought moved forward. Its engines glowed like suns. From its hull, a thin beam of light cut across the sky. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds, their wreckage spinning into the void. Another Terran ship fired. Another dozen alien cruisers fell. The humans did not rush. They did not panic. They destroyed with the calm precision of predators, certain of victory. On the ground, the people of the Jorian capital watched in horror. Their defenders, their mighty fleet, was burning before their eyes. Some screamed. Some fell to their knees in prayer. Others only stared, frozen, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. In the palace, leaders shouted desperately, "Call for retreat! Save what you can!" But it was too late. The Terrans had turned the battle into slaughter. Within minutes, the sky was full of fire and wreckage. The Alliance fleet, once proud and massive, was torn apart. Survivors tried to flee, but the humans cut down even their escape paths. At last, only silence remained. The Terran fleet hovered above the burning wrecks. Their black hulls glowed faintly in the light of shattered ships. And then, for the first time, a broadcast came. A human face appeared on every screen, every device, every tower across the planet. His features were sharp, his eyes cold. His voice was steady, deep, and carried across the stars like thunder. "You thought we were only legends," he said. "You called us ghosts, myths, shadows. But legends do not die. Legends return." He leaned closer. "Remember this day. Remember what happens when you challenge humanity. Stand in our way again, and you will not stand at all." The message ended. The human warships turned, slowly, deliberately, and began to drift away, leaving only silence and fear behind. The galaxy trembled. In the days that followed, governments fell into chaos. Some leaders demanded surrender. Others swore revenge. But the people, the ordinary citizens of every world, knew the truth. Their fleets had been broken, their pride shattered, their myths proven real. The humans had returned, not as stories, not as whispers, but as rulers of the void. On the desert world, the old commander sat with his recruits one last time. None of them laughed anymore. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow. One recruit whispered, "Commander, is this the end?" The old man stared at the stars. His voice was heavy, but steady. "No, this is not the end. This is the beginning. The galaxy belongs to them now." Far in the black void, aboard the Terran dreadnought, the captain stood before a vast star map. Red marks glowed where alien fleets had fallen. Blue lines traced the path of the human return. An officer asked, "What now, sir?" The captain's eyes hardened. He spoke the words that would echo across history. "Now they remember. Now the galaxy learns. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity does not bow. Humanity returns." The dreadnought engines flared. The fleet moved as one, disappearing into the endless dark. The legend was no longer a whisper. It was the truth. The humans were back, and nothing would ever be the same again.